Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is me once again. We are back, screaming into the void of the internet. You know, I had a little conversation. It wasn't very long, but it was enough to just confirm this, view that I've always had. Because it's like, they tell us this all the time. And I know I've made these videos. I made several of them talking about it. But the truth is just that these generations, we just have irreconcilable differences. We just really have irreconcilable differences. We just don't see eye to eye. And I'll just talk a little bit about the conversation. A friend of the family came over today, and my parents were asleep, so I answered the door, and they just told me to pass on a message. But while I was there, they had a little chat. They were, wellness check, and I just essentially just was honest. Yeah, I'm as good as you can be these days. And, they tried to, do what I said, hope on you, and, you're a smart person, you got your life ahead of you, the future is bright. And then they basically said, back in my day, like, this, that, and the other. And he's like, you've got your life ahead of you, my life's behind me, and I've got houses and stuff. So it's like, in a certain aspect, it's like, perhaps they didn't mean it as boasting, but it's like, you can't help but, like, you cannot help but view that as, like, are you really living in the same reality that, I am? You might believe it, but I'm sure that we can all say this about, like, just, even if they're not boomers, even if they're just, like, a bit older timers, like, they just don't see eye to eye. They don't see life the way that we see it, because, listen, let me make this very clear. I know that I tag these videos, Doomer, Black Pill, and stuff like that, but that's mainly because I feel like that's who relates to these, and if I can give you a bit of comfort, if I can help you realize that, you're not the only one going through this, then I'll do that. Because I don't really plan on making these videos go anywhere. I'm not going to try and spice them up and edit them and, get quality microphones and stuff like that. I'm really just talking, and I'm doing this to vent, get things out of my head, right? But for the most part, I'm not really, someone who considers myself a doomer. I don't consider myself Black Pill, but I see them, again, as elements of truth. And so I incorporate what I can, into what I view as truthful. You know what I mean? And personally, one of the worst things I feel is the fact that no matter how much you don't want to be right about these differences, these irreconcilable differences between the generations, it's just true. No matter what you tell an older person, like, telling you that you should be bright, your life's ahead of you, and stuff like that, it's like, they can't understand why it's not the same for you. They can't understand why you've got it a bit tougher, why you're down. Okay, well, back in my day, I didn't have internet, and so, there's so many jobs with the internet, you can make money sitting down. Yeah, but how easy is it to get that job in the first place? Like, have you worked? 9 out of 10, no, you're on Social Security, you get some kind of wellness check, something. Maybe you had enough to retire, But I'm not gonna act like, they don't struggle at all. Life's a struggle no matter what. But at least in terms of work, though they might not have to worry about where their money is coming from. And even if it's not completely everything, them needing a job part-time is completely different from you needing a job full-time. And again, like I said, for them, they can't really see eye to eye. They lived in a world where they could walk in a store and have a job that same day, if not, guaranteed tomorrow. And if you try that, it just doesn't work. I can tell you, I've done it. Listen, I'm going to be completely honest. Across the months that I've been uploading here, I've essentially had a few gig jobs and stuff like that I was, like, trying to do my best to go to. I was walking from place to place, just going on, like, Google Maps, and who the heck is deciding that it's a wonderful idea to get on a motorcycle at this time? But whatever, hopefully I'll just move just a little bit, and hopefully that won't be too irritating for anyone. You just move over here, you know. But here's what I'm saying, right? They don't understand that they lived in a world where they could be working within the same day, the same day that they like go into a place and inquire. We live in a world where most of the time you're not even having your application looked at. And even if your application is looked at, 9 out of 10 it's AI. And God help you if you get past AI, because now you got to get past HR. And who works at HR? Probably some freaking random chick bringing lattes and all these freaking canteens into the office with her long arse nails that she can't even type it with, and she's the one who's going to decide whether or not you get a job. She's the one that's going to decide whether or not, you might be able to provide for yourself. Really? Especially considering that, we need a certain demographic of people here. We need to be diverse and inclusive, and so if there's too many white males, then, you need to get to stepping. Or if there's too many males in general, can't have that. Let's go ahead and get some females in here, It's... No matter what you say to these people, no matter all of the evidence that you show, I really feel like the only way that they need to really just... I would actually watch, how they're making all these stupid arse dating shows and stuff like that, like Pop the Balloon, or like they're trapped in like a little cube or something. Like, I would love to watch, personally, myself, right? I would love to see boomers make a brand new resume. Brand new. Let's just say minimal experience. Maybe even mid-level experience, right? And I want them to... The goal for them, in my opinion, should be to try and get a job within a week. And I want to see the success rate. And I want all of them... I want them to, like, be swapping out constantly. Because I want us to, like, get to a point where we can see the ratio of how easy it is to get work. Because what a lot of people aren't realizing, and I hope that stays off, and I'm going to stay here just in case they turn it on like idiots, because I live in a ratchet arse area, so it's a given. I would love to see the ratio of people who actually get the job. I'd love to see who's actually going to be able to do something with that, because I'm telling you right now, it's not high. It's not high. And no matter what anyone wants to say, no matter what they try to tell you and convince you, getting a job right now might as well be like winning the slave lottery, because it's not a lottery like you won that you're going to be happy that you got it. You're just like, oh, well, time for slavery. It's just one of those things. And it really sucks to know that even if, like, because listen, I didn't, like, cry to them or anything like that. I wasn't, like, making myself vulnerable. They just asked, how you're doing, and I didn't give the typical, I'm good. I just said, I'm as good as I can be out here, man. Me being brilliant in your eyes, which isn't really... I don't consider myself a brilliant person. I'm not special, dude. Like, people try and they've told me that all my life, and I'm really sick of the you're special crap, dude. Stop lying to people. Stop lying to children. Stop making it seem like just because someone has a relatively grounded view of the world that they're going to do something in life, that life's going to treat them any different than it's going to treat anyone else. The truth of the matter is I'm average, okay? Like, maybe I have a better sense of reality than some people, but I'm not spontaneous, I'm not spectacular. I'm just a quiet dude that's a very mental person. I'm reserved, and I am no more skilled at anything than anyone else, Maybe video games, I do Dark Souls playthroughs, but it's not gonna freaking do anything for me for the most part, like... We need to stop lying to people. We need to stop acting as though just because someone is, in their eyes, relatively exceptional in an area that's going to be anything. And even if they are, like, it might not make them happy, I was looking personally, and I think it's called, what is it, Bonnie or Goody or something like that? Or Gooby or something like that. And Debbie or something like that. And it's basically this guy who is an ex-neurosurgeon, and... he was miserable. He was making tons of money, but he was miserable. He hated that job because for him, he said, he swore an oath to alleviate suffering, to minimize suffering. And it felt like all that the hospitals were doing is saying, you know what, listen, unless we can monetize the way that suffering is alleviated, it's useless to us. And for him, it was eating him up. It was eating his soul up. It was eating him up, and he felt like he wasn't going to make it. He would have probably died, or 9 out of 10, I hate to say it, but maybe ended himself before that happened. He just couldn't live like it. And he left. And that's kind of the thing that I'm talking about. Like, even the people that others might believe and perhaps they themselves show that, okay, I am exceptional. I was able to do this. Not everyone can be a neurosurgeon. Not everyone can stomach that kind of work and stuff like that. Even he couldn't. But even he chose to leave that. I'm sitting back in this spot. Hopefully that stupid motorcycle or whatever it is doesn't come back on. Even he chose to leave that. And people are not willing to accept the fact that, again, like I said before, because I know I make these videos a lot, dude. It's just, I can't help but talk about it. It's the only way that I can get it out of my head. It's just so irritating to live through this and to be trying to, thank God I'm a single person. I can't imagine what it must feel like right now to, like, be a father or something and to just be begging for work, to just be pleading to try and get work, and no matter where you go, it's just nothing. Because, at least if crap happened, let's say that my parents kick me out right now, right? It's just me, I don't have to worry about some woman, I don't have to worry about some kid, but, if you got a kid, man, and then in typical freaking fashion, your good old society is going to tell you, oh, it's your fault. You're just not trying hard enough. You're just not doing enough. Back in my day, all that bullcrap. Oh, my God. Oh, it's so irritating. I am so sick of the back in my day crap. It's so irritating. It's so irritating. Yes, you lived in a glorious time, air quotes, Because I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something right now, because, like, they call it the greatest generation. They say the greatest generation gave birth to the boomers, right? And they call it the greatest generation because they lived through, World War and stuff like that, right? And let me tell you why that's bullcrap. Because at the end of the day, that greatest generation was just as brainwashed as this generation is today, just in different aspects. That generation allowed the government to go and send their sons to go die in a war that, for the most part, did not include them. And no matter what people want to try and tell you, oh, well, they were a threat to the entirety of the world and this, that, and the other, let me tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you really do your research into that stuff, I'm not going to say it here because, hey, YouTube is going to lose their minds. But if you do your research into the number of people, little hat people, let's say, that were there, crap ain't adding up. When you look at the amount of German death, that crap gets covered up, and they don't talk about the amount of death there. When you look at the amount of freaking death in the realm of Japan, that Japan freaking exalted, they don't want to talk about that. So when people talk about, the whole freaking greatest generation, and then they talk about the fact that, or at least they don't want to admit the fact that, just like any other country, when those freaking cocksuckers went to war, they freaking brutalized, they snuggled, and they did all the stuff too, because that's human nature. Human nature is corrupt, and I can't stress it enough. There is no freaking great people, there's no greatest culture, there's no greatest ism, because all of humanity is corrupt. You can choose not to believe that, but I'm telling you, you will be in trouble when crap happens. If you don't believe me, just look at instances where it did happen. 2020 was 4 years ago. I hope to God that your freaking memory is not deaf. People were just going after people because of the color of their skin and mauling them. But are you going to tell me that, oh, that's not human nature, that's just supposed to... Look, I can tell you something right now. Hurricane Katrina, I believe. That's what it was called, right? Hurricane Katrina. And let me tell you something about this. I live in Florida, so I know what this is like. If hurricanes hit really hard and there isn't, like aid being distributed as well as legal enforcement, if you let those suckers, just within a week, you will see gangs everywhere in charge of that crap. Demanding women, demanding money for all of this stuff. They will lock those stores down, they'll hold those spots, and they'll hoard all the resources. Human nature is evil. You can go ahead and try and say, oh, well, I'm a nihilist, there is no right and wrong, and everything, I'm an anarchist, and this, that, and the other. Go ahead and say that crap. Because I'm telling you, if you're getting your freaking kneecap beaten in, or if you're watching your freaking woman getting struggle snug with your daughter or something like that, you're not going to freaking feel that way. You're not going to feel like that's right. Please shove it up your arse if you actually believe that. A little tirade, but let me continue on. What I'm trying to say is that so-called greatest generation allowed just as much corruption as we are. Because at the end of the day, that greatest air quotes generation was just as much a sheep as the people here today. Is what it is. Is what it is. Those so-called patriots were so blinded by their patriotism that they didn't look at the reasons that they were going to that war. And if you don't believe me, you can look up some of these letters where these guys wrote about how at Christmas time they would fraternize with the German soldiers and get around the tree and sing Christmas carols. And they'd ask, why are we killing each other? The same way that you can find letters about the freaking Civil War that happened in America with British soldiers and American soldiers at that time, or before it was America, whatever they were calling it, right? Asking, why are we killing each other? All countries send their men to go die for some crap that they started. Not you, not me, not the average person. I don't know nothing about what's going on in China. I don't know anything about what's going on in there. I have information about, what they're willing to share, but I don't know the full context. No Chinese soldier or whatever, even soldier, I mean citizen, is concerned about what I'm doing with my life, and vice versa. It is when the state tells you that you have no choice, you're going to go over there, or you're going to die. That's when, for him, he doesn't get a choice. And then when he sees, his air quotes enemies killing his friends, yeah. And that's how they control you. Because it's very hard to keep your heart when you're seeing that stuff happen. Very hard. And if you do keep your heart, you're a coward. You're a murderer when you kill people here. You're a hero when you kill people over there, right? Makes no sense. Nothing in this world does, I am just convinced now that no matter what you say to boomers, no matter what you say to older people, they're never gonna get it. It's only if they were truly in your position. And this is why I say what I say, if you happen to be one of these people in a very rough time because your parents threw you out and stuff like that, remember it. Hold on to it. Because I was looking at this little tidbit that this guy was sharing on social media that, at 18, his mom threw him out. And now she's coming back to him at 50, saying, she's homeless. And you know what he said? He said, nope, you're an adult. Just like he said exactly what she said to him. You're an adult. Go work. Stop mooching off of me. Go work. That's right. Remember it. Pay it back. No, F that. Remember, this is a two-way street, man. This is a two-way street. If you are in your time of need, and my God, do not think that being a NEET is not a time of need. Nobody, for the most part, wants to be a NEET. We want to have enough to take care of ourselves. We want to have enough to just do something and accomplish some kind of goal. We want to have something, even if it's just simple stuff. I'm not asking for much. I don't think many guys that are in this similar boat are asking for much. But it's hard to get it. And if, again, these people, in your time of need, as a NEET, want to kick your arse to the curb, if you finally make it for yourself, because I'm not going to pretend it's guaranteed and, 100% you will make it. I'm not going to pretend. Listen, you have a perfect plan and crap can still go wrong. So I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to sit around here and just act like, yeah, it's guaranteed going to happen. But if it does, remember that. Remember how they treated you. Remember it. F them. Don't care that that's your family. F them. They're not acting like it. Because they see you in your time of need and they're kicking your arse to the curb saying, you're a man. You need to get out there and do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, easy for you to say, huh? Real easy for you to say when you lived in a completely different world where you could get your job real quick. When one income could support the family. Easy for you to say. Real freaking easy. Real easy when the inflation wasn't so high. Real easy when the value of the dollar wasn't in the freaking toilet. Real easy to say. The only way that you really see people right here doing stuff is when they're just saying, I am done with society. I will have something on my own. And they just buy a shed somewhere. They buy some land and call it a day. Or they just become completely nomadic. And they just travel. That is what you're going to see more and more of. Mark my words. Mark my words. I'm telling you. And this is why I say what I say. Listen, man. We're in due for something. You know? We're in due for something because it's only when rough times like this happen that people really just get to the point where they're like, yeah, let's go ahead and water the tree. Water the tree of liberty. And, you know, it's funny because my friend was mentioning, you know, but the thing about it is when you water the tree of liberty, patriotism, you know, like, your blood's going to get, you know, added in there too. Yeah. But like I said, I don't really think people realize. A lot of these guys just don't give a rat's arse anymore. They don't care about life. You know, I've said this many times. I think that if you care too much about life, then it'll keep you in this position where you're afraid of losing it. And so, no matter how awful it is, no matter how brutal it is, you'll just, well, gotta do it. You think that slavery could have existed if people would just end themselves